What's up? Welcome back to the last of knives, and this is the newly released Civivi Imperium with the gold and shredded carbon fiber handles. I've had it for a couple days now, but I'm ready to give my impressions I've had so far, and well, this is it. So despite it being released quite recently, there are already tons of different options to the lineup, those of course being the models with shredded carbon fiber, either with gold, silver, or copper flakes. You can also get G10, micarta, or Damascus. Just many different available options out there for a variety of likings. However, today this video is all about the gold model with shredded carbon fiber handles, except quite a lot of the specs are identical to those other versions as well. And I said this in my unboxing video about the Civivi Imperium, but I'm gonna say it again. One of the most unexpected things about this knife, if you didn't know it was from Civivi, is its price. Prices range from only $68 to $89.25, so pretty affordable prices for what you get. But basic specs. So again, this is the gold shredded carbon fiber model with a resin coat, about 2.9 ounces. It's got a 3.5 inch drop point style blade cut from Nitro V steel. The blade is finished off with a stone wash finish. It's got all black hardware including the deep carry clip, which is only tip up right-handed carry, and deployed the knife is 7.8 inches overall in length. But moving on, the appearance. Gotta say, it's looking pretty dope. On the surface, it has a resin coating which makes it a bit more shinier. However, traction wise, it's not the best, but we'll get into that later on. Love the little gold flakes, just adds a bit more detail. And fun fact, each model comes with a slightly different appearance of the gold flakes. And if you are familiar with many Civivi knives, chances are you'll find the bottom shape of the handle to be quite familiar. Sort of looks like the shape of the rustic gent or the Appalachian drifter, but overall, love the appearance. Unfortunately, we don't have any other models of the Civivi Imperium to compare to. However, we can compare it to other similar and popular knives, side by side with the CJRB Feldspar. Of course, CJRB being one of Civivi's biggest competition, this would be a pretty good comparison. You can see that overall, both knives are actually very similar. In fact, blade length of each of these knives are exactly the same, 3.5 inches. But of course, being just 0.2 inches larger overall than the Imperium, the Feldspar has a larger closed length. In terms of weight, the difference is a much more drastic difference compared to the overall length. The Feldspar is 4.09 ounces compared to the 2.9 ounce Imperium, so one of them of course has the weight advantage. But anyways, ergonomics of the Civivi Imperium are pretty good, however there are some flaws. Two things. First off, the traction. Of course, since it doesn't have a grippy fibrous material like micarta or G10, but instead a resin coated surface, you're not going to get the traction you would want. However, I think it's a trade-off if you prefer appearance over grip, since I can definitely excuse the grip because of how cool the handle looks. Second is the shape of the edge. From a picture, it wouldn't seem like it would be affecting your grip in any way, but once you feel it, you'll notice it. I would prefer a smooth edge and a softer edge than this one. They could have done a little contouring along the edges, but to be honest, if you don't hold the knife in a strong grip for too long, you'll barely notice it. But aside from those, I don't feel any hot spots from the clip, which I've heard from others, and the overall shape of the handle, disregarding the sharp edges, feels to be fitting my hand really well. Also, it features a fingered choil for detailed work, but I wouldn't recommend using it if you have larger hands, and some jimping for a better grip. I've also heard the G10 model has slightly more chamfered edges, but a flatter and less contoured or rounder handle, which we were just talking about. So it's a trade-off between a more round, contoured handle with sharp edges, or a flatter handle with smoother edges when comparing the G10 model and the carbon fiber ones. But overall, ergonomics are not too bad. So big question is, what's up with Nitro V steel and how does it cut? Well, gotta be honest here, I haven't had much experience with Nitro V steel in the past, but I've heard from multiple sources of it having good toughness, in fact tougher than the steels like N390 or S35VN. I've heard Nitro V is expected to have similar wear resistance and edge retention to AEBL stainless steel, which has edge retention much lower than steels like S30V. So it's a trade-off between toughness and edge retention when comparing Nitro V and the popular CPM S30V steel. But overall, throughout the cutting test I put it through, which was used to cut cardboard, paracord, and some twine, the first lots of cuts had no problem. However, which is pretty surprising, after about 20 or 30 cardboard pieces, the blades started to get a bit dull. In fact, here I am struggling to cut through some paper with. but I really started to notice a change in cutting performance after 20 or so cuts of cardboard. Overall build quality is absolutely solid, great fit and finish. Again, not too surprising from Civivi, but of course I appreciate that. Blade grind appears to be symmetrical as well as the whole shape of the knife, but thumbs up for build quality. So we've covered the basic specs, the handle, ergonomics, and the blade, but one of my favorite things about this knife that I haven't mentioned much about was definitely the action. There's 3 things. 1, the smoothness, 2, the ways of deployment, and 3, the detent. So like almost all Civivi knives, they feature caged ceramic bearings in the pivot, which not only allows the blade to deploy swiftly, but it also allows the blade to drop shut. Also, it offers multiple ways of deployment, either from the dual thumb studs or the front flipper. Also, the detent. I think it's just perfect. It's not too strong, which could interfere with the front flipping action, but at the same time, it has a really satisfying click. So overall, big thumbs up for the action. Rest of the hardware on the knife are pretty solid. They're all black, like the body screws, thumb studs, back spacers, clip. And check this out. Instead of drilling a hole through the scales for a lanyard hole, which is the typical norm for many folding knives, they actually designed the hole to be a loop on the back of the knife. You just slip the lanyard in, tie it the usual way, and you have a lanyard attached to it. I personally like this design more. It's more discreet, keeps the show side of the knife simple and clean, but at the same time offers an option for lanyard enthusiasts. As I mentioned earlier, it's got a black coated stainless steel pocket clip, which unfortunately can't be switched to either side. It's only got a right-handed carry, tip up, but pocket rideability is great. It slides in and out of the pocket really nicely. The tension is strong enough to hold onto your pants, but at the same time not strong enough to rip them. The screws are recessed and the clip is flushed with the scales, which is a small but great detail that prevents the clip from snagging on your pants. But overall, it's pretty deep carry. Only about half a centimeter of the handle sticks out in the pocket. I love the black coating, which makes it even more unnoticeable when carried, but hardware is pretty solid. And tying back to the design, the black hardware really blends into the carbon fiber well, which ultimately makes a really clean design. But looking at the Civivi Imperium as a whole, everything about it is solid. It's not necessarily a budget knife since it's just under $90, however I think for its price that it's still worth it. But once again, thank you for tuning in, and if you found this video helpful, consider hitting the like button below and the subscribe button to see more EDC content like this in the future, and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload another video.